Ryan Elliott, Boxing News. Delighted to be joined by Liam Paro from across the pond. Liam, we were just talking before the recording there. Been a while. A lot's happened in the last 3 years since I last spoke to you. How is life as world champion? How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me back. And yeah, it's about time we get back to having a yarn. But look, it's been a good long hard road, and life hasn't changed for me. I still got that contender mindset, and still ready to achieve a whole lot more in boxing.
Well, that was going to be my next question, actually. A lot of fighters we speak to, when they become world champion, they say that actually nothing much actually changes except the belt. Has there been any change at all? Has it just been life as usual for you?
Just life as usual for me. I'll keep a pretty simple living. So yeah, nothing much has changed. Just opening a few more doors, a bit more pulling power now for the bigger fights, and that's what it's all about. Like I said, it's I'm only just getting started in this. This is the start of a long good journey, and yeah, I'm just blessed to be here and being able to do what I love.
Obviously, it's an amazing achievement and the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. But you mentioned it there is the big bonus here that you're not the hunter anymore, you're the hunted. That you're not gonna have to go chasing these big fights. They're right there for you whenever you want them.
Yeah, 100%. I've always said I wanted the target on my back. I knew how hard I worked for this. I worked my whole life for this, and the thought of someone trying to come and take what I've worked for is just even more motivating than ever. So if anything out of this, I've just got more motivation. So it's a dangerous place to be in, to be a challenger for my belt.
I just want to go back to the Matias fight. People were calling him the boogeyman, and people weren't giving you a chance. You're a massive underdog, but even from when the fight was first discussed, did you just always feel like you had his number? Did it go how it thought you would, how you thought it would, rather?
100%. Anyone that knows me knows I'll fight anyone anywhere. I love a good scrap, and what better way than to take out, like you said, the so-called boogeyman at the time, making five previous guys quit on the stool. It was it would just yeah, it would just make it all better. Like it made it better in the end. Um, we knew what we possessed. I know I've said for a long time we've got the best team in the world, got the best coach in Alfie DiCarlo. We had a perfect game plan, and all we did in that fight was show the world what we already knew. And we're going to continue to do that for a long time to come, I believe.
We've seen fighters, be elevated to championship status, win vacant belts. Was it that bit sweeter for you knowing that you've done it what people will call the right way? You've gone into the champion's backyard and taken it from him?
Exactly right. We've been on the road for a while now. We're true road warriors. We'll fight anywhere. And to do it the way I did, the magnitude of that, fighting the most avoided guy, not in the division, but in boxing, I believe at the time, in his hometown, just made it that extra bit special. And yeah, it's just a better chapter in the book when it's all said and done.
You're saying I've got the best team in boxing and you've always felt ready for that fight. Did anything surprise you during that fight?
No, look, I said that into the in the build up. We knew the task ahead of us. We knew it wasn't going to be an easy night in the office, and yeah, we just had the perfect camp, the perfect game plan. It goes back to my coach, like I said, Alfie. He's a genius. I'm just a product of his hard work, and I'm going to continue to show that. But yeah, we knew the task ahead. There's no easy fights, and we knew how hard this was going to be, and we just come in ready.
You mentioned being a road warrior. You're going back to Puerto Rico where you won the world title. Obviously proud boxing people. Have you felt the love from the Puerto Ricans after winning the belt?
Yes, definitely. We're very respectful and humble people. So the Puerto Rico is a beautiful place, beautiful people, and I'm actually very excited to go back there. I think it'll be a different reception now, not fighting the Puerto Rican champion and going back to the country that gave me the opportunity to become a champion for my first defense is. I think it's special. I think it's good, and yeah, I'm excited to get there in 2.5 weeks and, God willing, put on a dominating performance.
You've always said you don't just want to be a world champion, you want to be the guy at 140. With that said, after you won the world title, you have your celebration, etc. How fast were you straight back down to work?
I keep pretty fit all the time. I can't sit still, so I got to keep busy. And look, yeah, we wanted to fight this year, and that's the reason. Once we beat Matias, we took the mandatory of Hitchins, and I'm not going to lie, we were looking for a bit bigger names like the Haneys, the Lopez's, and Garcias, but obviously everything's happened for a reason, and no one was biting, So we thought, why not take a mandatory, call it on. We wanted to stay busy. I want to be a busy champion. I'm a real fighter, and yeah, what better way than to close the year with another good, hard, undefeated opponent. it shows that we'll fight anyone, and we're taking out the best guys.
Richardson, is fair to say, has done a lot of talking already. I saw a little clip of the face-off that's coming out as well, where he says he'll come and meet you in the center of the ring. Do you believe any of that?
Absolutely not. He doesn't even believe what he says. It's just a big front. He's an insecure guy, and it's just nerves. You know what I mean? And everyone knows that. Everyone knows he's a talker, and word on the street is he's a quitter too. He's weak in the head, and I'm not the fighter you want to be in the ring with if you're not there mentally. But we're going to test that. Like I said to him at the face-off, I want him 110%. I don't want no excuses because it's going to be. We know what we bring to the ring, and it's going to be a long, hard night for him in the office. Yeah.
You mentioned there may be question marks around his mental fortitude, but what does he do well?
Look, he's a good boxer. He's got a good jab, and look, if you give him his space and whatnot, he's good. He's a good boxer. Like I said, you can't take nothing away from him. You got to give credit where credit's due. He's number one and mandatory for a reason. But I believe we've got everything covered to get the job done.
With that in mind, you said you're going to question, his heart in this fight. Do you believe you'll stop him?
Look, I believe I'll have my hand raised by the end of it by any means necessary. If the stoppage is there, of course I'll take it. But look, like I said, we just all we're worried about is getting the dub.
From the outside looking in, you've always struck us as a very level-headed character. When an opponent comes and does all this talking and brings that energy, do you like that? Are you indifferent to it? What do you think of it?
Honestly, makes no difference to me. You know what I mean? We're in there fighting, not talking at the end of the day. So you can say what you want. If it's your way of hyping you up to get you through them ropes in the ring, do what you got to do. Because I know what I bring to the table. Fight night, I'm all about action, no speak. And I've proved that in my fights. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? It means no difference to me. It just all I see is insecurities, if anything,
You've
and
had so many
self disbelief.
You've had so many big wins on the road now. If you get Richardson Hitchins out of the way, Australian boxing in a great place. Is the homecoming got to be the next big step?
I think that's definitely the angle we're going to target at. Like you said, my target's strictly on Hitchins' head, and that's it. We don't look past no fighters ever, and it's tunnel vision on Hitchins. But yes, God willing, I get it done. I think Australia and myself deserve a big homecoming fight, and we got a few champions there now with signed all by Matchroom, so it'd be a massive card in Australia. So yeah, I think that's the angle we might approach. But like I said, strictly business. December 7, putting on a dominating performance and showing why I am the guy at this division.
I know you're fully locked in on Richardson Hitchins, but I have to ask, there's a big fight kind of boiling in the background for Australia. People, talking about potentially a George Kambosos fight in Australia next year. How big an event would that be? And is that a fight that interests you?
Yeah, 100%. But no disrespect, George needs to get back on the winning ways first before he jumps in there and has deserved the shot with me. Um, but 100%, it's a massive domestic fight, so that's definitely going to happen. I believe we will square off in the near future, and yeah, anyone in my way in the 1 to 40 division can get it.
You mentioned earlier on about, trying to get Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney in the ring. You told us a couple of weeks ago, that Devin had priced himself out basically. If it was down to you, there's some good fights to be made with the other champions, but there's also some huge fights with non-title holders. Would you prefer that, those bigger fights or unifications as a priority?
Look, whatever makes the most sense and whatever's more open to being a reality at the time, I believe. There's some big names. I'd like to welcome Garcia back with a fight. Obviously he might struggle to make 140s, but look, if they give me a big enough bag, I'll go to 147. I'm strong. I've got the power and the strength to move up there, I believe. But look, my mind now is strictly 140, unifying, becoming the king, and look, anything's possible.
All right, Liam, I'm going to leave the final word to you. December 7th for all the boxing fans tuning in, buying tickets over in Puerto Rico as well. What message do you have for them, and what do you think we'll see on December 7th?
Firstly, I just want to thank everyone supporting Team Paro. It means the world to me. And I can't wait to make you proud.
All right, Liam, thank you very much and good luck. Thanks for having me, guys.
Mate, cheers. Good to speak again. Take care.